Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. Hello, everyone. It's your friends at Sober, Not Mature. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're doing about 25 minutes of Mike and I talking about some new shit that's on our mind. And then we're taking some clips from our most popular episodes. Episode 4, Episode 10, and Episode 13. And the clips that we pull off of there are going to round out the episode. We'll be back to a normal length episode next week. We do have guests coming up in the next month. But enjoy this little bit of rewind with your friends at Sober, Not Mature. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And even though I haven't recorded the intro yet, you already heard that on Instagram and that sort of thing, we're going to do about 25 minutes of just us with some new stuff. And we're going to do a little bit of replay from a couple of episodes, 4, 10, and 13, some of our most popular ones. Right. So just get a little bit of us tonight. But yeah, same thing, man. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to, kick our feet up and, get all the guests out of the room, and it's been great, man. We've had, right. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. So, and I know you're not a huge fan of the statistics, but real quick, that last week's episode with G, we've got 78 plays on that so far, which the best start so far was the Shoot the Wad episode. So that was 26. So yeah, I mean, we're on 32 now. So a handful of episodes ago, that one hit, I think 70 or 72 in the first week, but one way or the other. I know we don't really do the stats anymore, but that one, I've been messaging her and letting her know she's beyond. She's like, I don't understand it, but I'm like, yeah, it was a good episode. So
yeah, it was.
But so let's get into it right away again, since we're short on time. But and I'll just ask you right off the bat, anything that's come up this week, anything over the last couple of weeks on your mind? I got a couple of main things that I wanted to bring up, but what you got? Anything?
Not really a whole lot, man. Work's been busy, and I've been dealing with people, which is not my favorite thing in the world to do, but it's all right. I guess it's keeping me sober.
Right. I actually had to mute myself. I took a drink of coffee while you were talking. When you hit the people thing, I was choked on my coffee. So, it's not as though I don't know that, but every time, man, it cracks me up because I get it. So. But yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get into work. I could spend 3 hours talking about my job right now, but yeah, we don't have time for that. Fuck you, you fucking fuck. I posted this morning. That was at the start of my day. I was in a great mood, but that was just for anything that might come up that day. And in my head, I used that shirt a couple of times, so I'm good to go.
Preemptive strike.
Yeah, it definitely was. So, all right, so I just want to recap just a couple of quick things. So, I mean, a few things have happened since, you and I have had a chance to talk. We've appeared on 2 podcasts. The first one was with Eric. Eric Light, obviously, Unfuck Yourself. That was great. That was a week ago, Tuesday. That episode, November 18th, right? I have that.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. we'll continue to, and I've been sharing a lot of Eric's posts, kind of keep him in front of people.
Mhm.
And he's thanked us too, for doing that promotion. We're obviously more than happy to do it. Then we
Right.
did the second podcast appearance on Tuesday, this past Tuesday,
Mhm.
with Tracy from Cleaning Out the Closet, not my closet, the closet.
No,
That was a lot of fun too. I mean, she was
it
a
was.
trip. Part of me, I don't know if she really knew what to think of us, which was I think
Uh-huh.
that actually made it a little bit more fun. But
It did.
so that one's actually uh, posting up this coming Wednesday,
Correct.
October 5th.
Yes.
So same deal. I've been posting her stuff. She's been posting a couple of things, um, actually about our conversation. So we'll continue to do that. And then the
Mhm.
last thing was the cartoon that Joel did for us. So
Right.
the sheltered life.
Right.
We now have him added to our sponsor page. So if you
Mhm.
visit our website, which is simple, SoberNotMature.com, he's on our sponsor page. We're
Right.
also connected with him on Instagram. We're connected with him on Facebook.
Yep.
He's gotten actually, and I just posted that on Instagram. He's gotten more play on that comic
Mhm.
than he normally does, which is fun,
Right. Yep.
because I told him, I said that's the point, man. We're out here trying to promote him, and it's cool. I mean, that cartoon is just it blew me away, man. It just really
Yeah.
did. It's cool.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's done he's done a lot of stuff here in the Cleveland area, for businesses and for the entertainment business and a lot of horror host stuff here in Cleveland. And yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, and like I said, just crazy happy that how that turned out. When you had
Mhm.
sent me the rough draft even before it was finished, I was
Right.
just like, holy fuck or holy cow, whatever I said. I'm like, my God. But yeah, so that just a few different things. So keep an eye on our Instagram page and our Facebook page as far as when
Mhm.
the episodes are. We might see if we can do some more things with with Joel when it comes to that. So
Right.
we got some things coming up, and one way or the other. I mean, again, we're having fun still. I think, right?
Yes, we are.
I always got to ask just to make sure we're having fun, right?
Yeah, despite ourselves, yes, we are.
It's despite our best efforts to the
That's
contrary,
right.
we're actually having fun.
Yep.
All right, so if you got nothing, I got, like I said, two main things.
All right.
The first one is just peculiar, and I don't know, I don't know if you'll get a kick out of this or be fucking weirded out by it, but either way,
Yeah, maybe a little of both.
maybe a little bit of both. You're right. So when we recorded with Eric,
Mhm.
and again, Unfuck Yourself is the name of his podcast that we did
Right.
2 weeks ago. So you had your camera on, so did he. I did not have my camera on that night, but
Right. Right.
it's funny. You and I never have our cameras on, so we've been doing
Yeah.
this for 32 episodes, and
Right.
I mean, I've seen that head of yours make noise for 12 and a half years, but
Right. And I've seen your ugly mug for about the same amount of time. So exactly. I don't need to look at your ass.
right. But the funny part is when you were getting into your conversation,
Mhm.
and the cameras on you and stuff like that, you had like the mannerisms of our dad. I was just like,
Really?
oh yeah, I'm sitting there listening to you and watching you. I'm like, holy shit.
Hmm.
It was weird, because it was just I don't even know what it was. And like I said, that I've looked at that bald head of yours for 12 and a half years.
Yes, we have.
I've heard you. I've seen that
Mhm.
mouth flapping all over the place, but
Well,
it was just really fucking weird. And it was kind of
huh.
nice. It was weird, but it was, I don't know, it was nice. I was just like, God damn, every once in a while I've had that. I don't know if I ever told you this story. There was the second job that I had, the call center that I worked at. I
Mhm.
was on the phone one time and some guy answered the phone and I'm talking to him, and it was a collection agency. So I'm talking to him about, a bill and whatever.
Right.
And it was like halfway through the conversation, something he said or how he laughed, it sounded like my dad.
Hmm.
And at this point, I'm like, I don't know, 6 months sober, something like that.
Right.
So it's like 7 months from the time that he died, and
Mhm.
still a little raw. And
Oh, yeah.
it just I was like it almost it was weird, man. It almost like choked me up listening to the guy because I'm like my fucking dad's on the phone.
No.
But yeah, that just I didn't think about that until we just started talking. But so yeah, that was the weird one, But I don't know
Hmm.
for what, and it didn't happen when we were recording with Tracy, and I was kind of looking at you again. I'm like, do you still look like him? Like, nah. You're back to your same bald ass self.
All right. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, but like I said, it was just kind of weird. But so the second one, and I've talked about my sponsor in Wisconsin, Carl,
Hmm.
quite a
Right.
bit. So I haven't talked to Carl in, oh shit, the last time I would have seen him would have been before the start of the pandemic. I stopped going to
Hmm.
meetings like mid-March, right before things shut down. I stopped going to that meeting. I was just,
Right.
again, I was kind of wigged out. I didn't want to go sit in a, tight rooms
Yeah.
full of people
Right.
and all that stuff.
Right.
Um, and I think I might have talked to him at some point after that, but either way, it's been a couple years.
Hmm.
So just out of the blue, and this was shit. This was 2 weeks ago now because it was before we recorded with Daphne the second time. So again,
Okay.
it's been a couple of weeks, but
Hmm.
he texted me and I looked at it and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? It's been a while, blah blah blah." So I texted
Right.
back. I'm like, "Hey, I'm doing well," and he's like, he goes, "How are you doing, man? Are you still in Wisconsin?" This is all just texting.
Sure.
And I said no. I said matter of fact, told him where I am, what I'm doing, and
Hmm.
why. And
Right.
I said, hey, still sober, no issues. I said
Right.
obviously pandemic wise, did the Zoom meetings, the blah blah blah, and then
Hmm.
also sent him a link. I'm like, hey, a buddy of mine and I are doing this, and I
Hmm.
forgot that you guys had met, or I would have mentioned that, but
Right.
so send him the link to this, and then he's just like, he goes, man, but he goes, you're okay though. He goes, I haven't heard from him. And he goes, I'll call you tonight or I'll call you tomorrow. He's like, when's a good time to call? And I
Hmm.
kind of jokingly said, I'm like, there is no good time.
Right.
But I'm like, I said, no, seriously. I said, work's been busy and doing stuff with mom and just trying to
Right.
get a little rest every once in a while. But
Hmm.
I said, whatever. I said, just let me know.
Right.
And and then he said again, he's like repeating this thing. He's like, but are you okay? And I'm just like, dude, I just told you all these different things. I'm still sober. This is what I'm doing. It was just
Right. Right.
weird. But then I said,
Hmm.
so I said, here's the thing. I said, just so you know, I said, obviously, no, I'm not in Wisconsin, but I said, I
Hmm.
stopped. I said during the pandemic, I said I'm friends with some people, from the club on Facebook, and I know I
Hmm.
talked about this on here before.
Right.
And I said, I said, no offense, people can think what they want, but I said there was a couple of people, three maybe, that I said got pretty mouthy about how things were going, during the pandemic and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
and I'm like, I said, honestly, I said, I wasn't sure that I wanted to go back to the club because I'm like, I don't want that stuff to spill over into a meeting. And I said,
Right.
these are people that I know. And I said, they seemed really opinionated.
Ah, so they
Um,
had opinions on outside issues, is what you're saying.
yeah. And, and that's the thing. Because when you and I talked about this the last time, whatever it was, this could have been 10 or
Hmm.
15 episodes ago. Imagine that. You said the same thing. Um, But so I told him that because you're just kind of explaining it. I would have told him one way or the other.
Hmm.
And then nothing. I haven't heard a thing from him
Hmm.
in 2 weeks. And and I'm just kind of like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so again, now don't get me wrong. I mean, it works both ways. The phones, the
Sure.
texting, all that stuff works both ways.
Hmm.
I never blamed him or ever thought, oh, my fucking sponsor hasn't even reached out to me because I could do it
Right.
too. And
Sure. Right.
I'm thinking that he probably thinks the same thing, or at least I think he would. But then, I felt like I wanted to explain myself, so I did, and then nothing. And I'm just like, I mean, that was the extent of the conversation. But does that seem weird, or am I like overthinking this?
No, well, I mean, it seems wrong. It actually seems fairly normal in the society we're living in today. Uh, Unfortunately, yeah, people again, outside issues, man. Which you and I both we've talked about it. We don't have a whole lot of opinions on a lot of things outside of sobriety and doing the next right thing and all the political stuff, all the societal stuff. I really don't give a fuck one way or another. It doesn't affect my life. Whoever's in the White House doesn't really affect my life. I go to work every day. I earn my check every day. I spend my money where I spend it or I don't. I live my life. What happens outside of that, I don't give a fuck about. So, but not everybody's like that.
Right.
Not everybody has that peace and serenity that I fucking have.
and and you said it just so everyone knows. we were testing out volumes and stuff like that before we started because I've got a new microphone and we're trying to get Mike set up and I said, well, you just talk loud just in case you get excited. He's like, I doubt I'll get excited. Well,
Right.
everyone, he just got excited for a
I
minute.
just got excited and I leaned forward and I realized I did it after I did it.
No, it's okay because your volumes didn't spike on here. So no, you're all good. You're all good. But
Yep.
so in the thing of it is that and I'll only disagree with you on one part of that is that
Right.
you and I are very opinionated, but we don't bring it to things like this.
Mhm.
You and I have had very deep conversations about all the things you just talked about,
Right.
and both of us know where the other person stands. We don't agree on everything,
No.
but I mean, we surprisingly enough, we line up on a lot of things, including when it comes to political things and stuff like that, and a lot of these things going on in the world.
Right.
Just by some, I don't know, chance, we actually do line up on those things.
Well,
But
because we each have a brain in our head.
right, but
No matter how badly we tried to damage them, but they remained relatively intact.
right again against our best. What do you want to call it?
Efforts.
Efforts. They were glad I was going to say abilities. Damn, thank you for being the other half of my brain for a minute and bringing up. Words are hard, man.
Right. Yes, they are.
But it seemed weird because, so again, take aside the fact that I haven't contacted him. He hasn't contacted me. He and I weren't really active as sponsor and sponsee, but we always saw each other at meetings. He's a good dude. It just seemed weird to me. I've never had somebody in the program like that, especially a sponsor, even if he didn't agree with me, just to, kind of set it aside. So it was just fucking weird, so I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. Again, and I stand by my word. It's wrong. It doesn't surprise me, and it doesn't. It seems to be the new normal, whatever the fuck that is. But
Right.
yeah, it's wrong. That's not the next right thing.
And you know what? And even if he had thought to himself that, he's telling me he doesn't want to call, he's not that way though. I know him well enough. I've known him now for 6, now longer than that. I don't know, probably 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
I've known him, so and he's been my sponsor. Well, it was, I asked him to be my sponsor probably a handful of years ago, whatever it was. But so again, I think I know him well enough, but again, I don't want to keep rambling about that, but okay. So it just, for a minute there, I'm thinking, am I reading into this wrong? And I've been literally waiting like 2 weeks to talk about this. Because I'm like, fuck it. No, this is something I'm going to talk about with you and I on here because, it could happen to somebody. So in other words, if somebody out there is listening to this, if it happened to you, fuck him. I mean, Carl's a good dude, and I'm not mad at him, but he's not going to ruin my fucking day. But I just need to. This is what I do. I get this shit off my chest. I talk to Mike. His worst case scenario, Mike would have said, "No, you're fucking wrong, dude," and I would have been like, okay.
Nope, doesn't sound like it to me, man. Sounds like it's on his side of the street, and there's nothing we can do about somebody else's side of the street.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Well, all right. So that one's out of my head. So
Good.
there's a lot of like little things on here. So the other thing one thing I wrote down was the crazy scale that we had talked about with Megan that one time.
Oh yeah.
We can talk about that if you want. We still got, it's only 16 minutes in, so we got time because it's crazy chicks. We can talk about crazy women for a minute.
We can.
Okay, so our friend, once again to recap real quick, our friend Megan, she's the one that put asshat on Mike's certificate. Also the one that donated and bought us a coffee and put from Crazy Megan on there. And
Right.
so where that comes from, and this had to have been at least 5 years ago. I was back in Ohio, and there was a Keating Center event the next day because I was going to go to that. Or no, on Sunday there was.
Right.
We're at a meeting on Friday. We're at this meeting, Gordon Square. At that time, Megan was the secretary. And we're all done with the meeting. And this is Mike fucking sandbags me on this, which is just fun in itself. So I don't know. I was talking to Megan, and she's like, "Oh, Mike said you're gonna get up and do baskets with us in the morning." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yep.
And then I look around, you're over in the corner fucking laughing like a girl. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, we're doing group. She's like, no, after you guys do group, Mike said that you help us put together baskets. And this is the raffle baskets for the thing. I'm like, first of all, I never said that, but then I'm like, wait a second. I said, are there going to be any like hot single women there? Because again, that's my default.
Of course.
I'm like, I'll show up if there's going to be hot single women there.
Right.
And then she's like, maybe. And I said, well, on the crazy scale, where are they at? And then she's like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how fucking crazy are they?
Right.
And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, okay, here's the thing. Everyone's crazy. All women are crazy. Everyone's crazy. And I said, I can handle on any day of the week, I can handle a solid 6 or 7. On some days, a fucking 8 is a really good time. When you hit the 9s and 10s, that's like, yeah, but, and I've revamped that over the years. I've said I said 1 to restraining order. Where are you at?
Right.
So I joke with women about this. Women that I've spent time with, I joke with, this about. So then she's like, well, I don't know. Where do I stand? And then she's like, Michael's her husband.
Yes.
and he's like in 11. And she gets this look on his face or on her face, and he's like, no, I love you to 11. So he backed right out of it.
Of course.
But it was, she sent me a text message, I think, I don't know, within a month from there, a few weeks, whatever it was. And she's like, thanks, pal. She's like, Michael won't quit talking to me about this crazy scale. So now it's a joke, and we just talk about that. But yeah, she was the original one that we had talked about. But yeah, just I made a note of that because I thought it was great. When I first saw the email for Crazy Megan, I'm like, do we have a follower named Megan? I'm like, yeah. So I started looking through. The only way that I figured out that for sure it was her is I went on the app, obviously the Buy Me a Coffee app, and was able to see the email address. And thankfully I had her email address in my phone. I'm like, oh, so it was Megan. Because I wanted to thank her, obviously for giving us a donation. And by the way, side note, you can buy us a coffee too. All that's on our website. Give us a 5-star rating.
You want.
Go buy a T-shirt or a hoodie or something.
Go buy a T-shirt.
So anyhow, but yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. And she's Megan's a sweetheart. She's fucking nuts, but she owns it.
Yes, she does. Yes, she wears it well.
Yeah, she absolutely does. And our very, very good friend Michael is stuck in a house full of women. Her and then his 2 daughters. So yeah, every once in a while he's like, man, I could use a night out.
Right.
But obviously, I'm sure she could use a night out every once in a while too. So
right. And speaking of all that, October 9th, if you're in the Cleveland area and you want to win a T-shirt and a hoodie and a coffee mug and a travel mug, come on down to the Keating Center. It's oh Jesus, now I'm going to blank on the address. Go to the website. It's all there. It's on Brook Park Road. I know that.
Well, and there is a link to the Keating Center on our sponsor page. Also, it's not for that event. But but I posted about that in that, what is that? You said October 9th, right? So that's coming up.
Correct. Yep.
I should I'm gonna make a note on that. I'm gonna repost that.
Okay.
So post about Keating Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did it
Speaking of volunteering people from baskets, we were having our advisory board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I volunteered my girlfriend Chris and Tony's wife Angel to come help work with baskets with me. So I'm consistent, if nothing else.
No, that's cool. That's cool. But no, it was just funny because she wanted me to go and actually put them together with them. I'm like,
right.
Like, I don't want to fucking do that. And you knew I didn't want to do that, so that's why you did it. But
of course.
It was good. It was funny. But yeah, so the Keating Center events, anything like that, if you want to visit their website, always we are gonna leave them up on their sponsor page for freaking ever, because we love them. You know, so that's always gonna be on there. But I'm looking at things here, and I don't want to fuck with Riverside too much. We're at almost 22 minutes.
We just hit it.
Yep, and I want you to be able to do your little out statement. But so Only thing at the end for everyone listening, just remember we're going to have a little bit of the flashback, not the flashback stuff, the rewind stuff on here.
Right.
So when he tells you
We
to
won't call it best of. We'll call it some of.
right. So when he tells you to fuck off, you could do that, but then you got to fuck right back on
You
because
got to fuck right back on.
yeah, because you got to keep listening. So okay,
Right. Yeah, it's going to be some good stuff.
yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Right.
I think so too.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Nice little short one for you, but we got some good stuff coming up afterwards. Stay tuned and listen to us ramble some more. In the meantime, as always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, do something nice for somebody else this week, and please, for the love of whatever it is that you think is better than you, fuck off.
I like that because that was the all inclusive fuck off. It doesn't matter what people, even for the guy that sits under the tree, he or she can fuck off too.
Oh, absolutely! I want everyone to fuck off.
All right. Well, again, obviously, as always, this is a quick one, but hey, you know what? Sometimes quickies are the best, right?
Okay.
Hey, if you're sure,
I like the full hour's worth, but what are you gonna do? Sometimes you gotta get it in and get it out.
Exactly, that little quick one every once in a while. All right, brother, I love you, and I will talk at you next week. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Bye.
My first impression walking through that gate at the Keating Center, there is a wonderful establishment, literally right on the other end of the block, called the Lido Lounge, which is not a very high-end gentleman's club. The joke
we use
is
we use the word gentleman lightly too when you say gentleman's club.
Right. The joke is go to the Lido and see the C-section scars. So I actually, when I left detox, they put me in a cab to take me to the Keating Center. So it was actually a van cab. I remember this. The first of many vans in my future at that point. And yeah, so we're coming up the street and I see the Lido Lounge, and then we make the immediate right into this industrial parking lot. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I getting into here? What is this place? And because the Keating Center at the time there, the Rock was, it was, I don't know what the hell was it, man. It was like some old factory or something that had been converted.
Yeah, I think so. And it was some sort of, industrial type of business. And that is and that's a good point when you say, pulling into it's almost like a mini industrial park, and you see warehouses and some buildings and stuff. It looks like you're driving back almost into like a junkyard or something like that. There's almost no better way to put it, but yeah, when you pull in there, you're like, yeah, seriously, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Right. So, fear, but walked in and as is the case of that place, you're welcomed, the guys, the house fathers grab you up, and the residents get around you and instantly start, hey man, what do you need? What do you, welcome. And, you can feel the love right away, even if you're, not completely receptive to it. And, again, coming out of a week's worth of detox and all that, go down and you get cleaned up and change clothes and get a meal, and it was welcoming, and I know I definitely needed that.
Right.
Talk a bit about when you walked in.
Well, that was not my experience.
Right.
So
well, I know I showed up in the daytime, so that helped.
Right. Oh yeah, because I got out of detox on that Friday morning, and we were in Wisconsin. So it was
Right.
my mom and my sister, and we drove out. We stopped in Indiana, and because that's where my sister lives, and still lives. And I think my mom had, I don't know if she had her car there. I can't even remember. But anyhow, so she followed us from Indiana out to Ohio. But this process there was between stopping and then we stopped at the store because I had to get some stuff for me, all this different stuff.
Mhm.
It was a good 8, 9, 10 hours, and the
Right.
entire time I don't know, I was being taken someplace I did not want to go. So while I was in detox, and as you know, our entire family is a runner on what are we going to do with this guy.
Hmm.
So inadvertently found the Keying Center, which that's a whole nother story. But so yeah, we got there at, I don't know, like quarter after 10 at night.
Right.
So take that vision of what Mike just talked about and add darkness to it. And seriously, we pulled up, and I mean nothing's open at around that area at that time. There's like a Home Depot. I mean, there's a gas station, but I mean there's nothing open. Well, except for I'm sure the Lido
Toledo.
Lounge was open. That
Yeah.
would have been open. That would have been open. But so yeah, in pulling in there, so we get there and they knew we were coming, and our friend Vince was there at the
Hmm.
time. He was a house father, so we get in, and so it's me, and then obviously my mom and my sister, and he walks me through this place, and again it's 10:30 at night. We go down into the dorms, and I mean it's dark, and I can't see much, and again it's Friday night. These guys have been in groups all week. They've been going to their meetings and all this different stuff. So I mean, they're like a pack of rabid animals just bouncing around off the freaking walls. I'm
Uh-huh.
serious. They're just going crazy outside. So I get out, and first of all, as I'm walking through, I'm like, man, this looks. And I told my mom and my sister that at the time, I'm like, this looks like a homeless shelter, man. I'm gonna get robbed here. I don't know what's gonna happen
Hmm.
to me. I'm gonna get beat up because here's the other thing. Stepping back, and again, this, Mike. I had far. I was narcissistic. I didn't believe I had a problem. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to quit drinking. I didn't want to be there. So all of you people, air quotes, because I hate that statement. All of you people were not me. I didn't belong there. I
Hmm.
I felt. Did you lose me?
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit there, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm just gonna keep on talking. Let me take the headset out of here. Can you?
Try again.
All right, let's try it.
And yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully, I'm back. All right,
Yeah, there
so
you are.
okay, I may just leave that interruption in there. I don't care. It shows the quality of this
Yeah,
podcast, right? But
absolutely. We are professionals.
so yeah, I mean, I felt like I was above all this stuff. And I've
Hmm.
posted about this, and I've talked about this, but I mean, I wanted to go and think about things. I wanted to go and figure out what was going on. And I mean, our mom is sitting there, she's crying, and she's just like, you have no place to go. So I agreed to stay. And at that point, a couple of guys, and it was Dominic and Josh, and you remember Josh.
Uh-huh.
Both those two guys came up to me and kind of again like basically put their arms around me, not physically, but said, hey, let's go grab your
Hmm.
stuff, let's do whatever. And I agreed to stay for one day. And we all know that this thing is the one day at a time, and we only have one day. I didn't say it because of that, because I even though I knew a little bit about the program from my dad and all that stuff like that, I did not believe in that. That wasn't
Hmm.
why I said it. So they take me downstairs, because at this point, I mean, it's almost lights out, because lights out was at 11.
Right.
Um, like, take me down. I got my stuff. I laid, and I was down in it was C dorm, right? Downstairs. You were in,
B
or
dorm.
was it? Oh, I'm sorry, B dorm. So I was
Yep.
in B dorm downstairs, and I had my bed was the bottom of a bunk bed, and just
Uh-huh.
so everyone knows too, there's all bunk beds in there. Probably more. There was just people piled on top of each other, not literally,
Stacked
but
like cordwood.
yeah, exactly. So, but it was,
Yep.
I mean, more people they could help, the better, obviously. So I laid
Right.
there, and as I'm laying there, I didn't get undressed. I took my shoes off. I laid on top of the blankets, and laying on my right hand side, and there's the exit sign on top of the door. And I remember this vividly. I sat there and I just stared at that exit sign because I mean that's all I wanted to do was leave, you know.
Right.
And that's how I fell asleep. And my mom had gotten me this calendar, you know, and she's like, "Oh, you can, I don't know, make notes or do whatever." And I did use it for some of that. I should try to dig that out at some point. But I remember just in an angry way every single day, just fucking crossing off each day. I was so pissed. So and I think this is kind of good when I'm listening to you. And I mean, as you're explaining this, you know, I felt love and I got a meal and I got cleaned up and I was just ready. And I'm like, I was not, but and I was so angry, you know, but it's just, I think it's fun because, you know, the two of us walked in under very different circumstances, very different pasts, very different mindsets. And, you know, here we are almost 12 years later in the same place, which I think is a beautiful thing to, you know, to talk about and you know, for us to be able to voice these.
I'm looking good. I will say I didn't get to share this with you when we if you listen to last week's episode, we went down to Dr. Bob's house and our guide, somebody had posted something about Dr. Bob's and I posted the picture of me on Dr. Bob's toilet. And just said, "Hey, I was there yesterday too." And our guide saw that and wrote a nice little comment to me, and now we're pals on FaceSpace.
Oh, that's awesome, man! That guy was fun too. I mean, obviously, like you said, I mean, not only spent a lot of time with us, but was a nice guy, and you know, obviously one of us. You know, so that's awesome. And what a small world. So he just ended up seeing your comment based on somebody else saying that they were at Dr. Bob's.
Yep, that was it. Yeah, and then he sent me a friend request, and I told him to listen to the episode because we talked about him a little bit.
And said nothing. Well, God, now he's going to hear what I said about him. God,
yeah, I know. That's why I did it.
Oh well, you know what? He's not going to be the first person I probably pissed off. Maybe not even today. I might have pissed off somebody else today too. But
right.
Yeah. So okay. Well, no, that's cool though. You know, for a minute there, I felt a little bit of shame and regret, and it's gone. It's gone now, so I'm cool.
Yeah. Well, no, but you know, you ended up saying that you know you got a little information and it was all good. It was just you. It was you, not him.
Right, but I did call him a motherfucker though. When's this?
Oh yeah. I'm sure that's not the first time that's happened either.
I know it's not. It wouldn't have been the first time for me. That much I know too. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you want to, and we've been talking about it, we mentioned the four absolutes quite a few times, I think, in a couple of different episodes. Do you want to go over, and I'll let you do it. I mean, I've had experience with it, but explain what the absolutes are, how they were presented to us, and I don't know, maybe even what they still mean to you. I know they still mean a lot to me, but let's get into a little discussion about that because I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't even know what they are, let alone use them.
Right. Well, as we were reminded last week, the absolutes come from the Oxford group, which was a Christian fellowship that Dr. Bob's wife dragged him to. The absolutes there's four of them. It's unselfishness, honesty, purity, and love. And the way they're presented to us was we need to, in everything we're doing, we need to run what we're doing through the absolutes. Is it honest? Is it pure? Is it unselfish? And is it loving? And wow, I'm getting a big echo again.
Are you really? I mean, I don't hear it on my end, so maybe it'll come up on the recording, maybe not.
Right. Anyway, so the absolutes. We run through that and everything we do, you know, is it honest? Is it pure? Is it loving? Is it unselfish? I still do that. You know, the absolutes are an important part. It is a very Cleveland centric thing. There's a pamphlet. If you write to the Cleveland Central office of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get that pamphlet. I don't know. I think it costs under $1, if I remember correctly. And it's a whole thing. The 12 and 12, which is the 12 traditions and 12 steps, the book that Wilson wrote after he wrote the big book. Quite often there are groups that are study the 12 and 12. And the 12 and 12 that I went to for years was 12, 12, and 4. We did the 12 steps, then we did the 12 traditions, then we did the 4 absolutes. And then when we finished that, we'd start over again. And I did that every Saturday pretty much for about 6 years. And I learned a lot. I don't go anymore because I barely go to meetings anymore. But yeah, the absolutes are a big part of my program. Honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love.
Yeah, and I remember that meeting too, and that's one that was a Saturday meeting. I remember you and I.
Yeah.
I know you went there more than I did, but then you and I
Right.
started going on Saturday. Was it Saturday? What time was it then?
It was Saturday afternoon. I think it was like 4:00.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was still because I know that I used to go to Stella on Saturday night, also
So
for a
long.
while. Well, and I went there. That's when my dad got sober.
Right.
So
right.
that was kind of close to my heart and stuff. But yeah, I remember that meeting. It was great. I forgot about that it was the 4. The 12, 12, and 4. But it was great. Yeah, it's just a big. Other meetings do a rotation of the steps, but yeah, to do that whole mix in there, it was great. And we would sit down sometimes. I remember. And we're like, damn it, we haven't been in like however long it had been. We're back on like the same step. And we're like, where are the absolutes coming up, man? It's like, well, if you show up every week, right?
Right.
But yeah, and here's the funny part. The other thing I thought about with the absolutes, and it was, I don't think we could have been more than, again, back 30 days sober. So it was really new. Maybe it was even a couple of weeks, but I was down at Mom's and Kathy was there. And I remember her and I standing outside in Mom's driveway. And of course, I mean, she knew how, just pissy I was, going in there. And yeah, I mean, imagine that, right? But so she knew how pissy I was. But we started going to these, obviously the groups and everything like that. And we had gotten this introduction already to the absolutes. And that's one of the notes that's written in my big book too, I've got it written down. And Tom, I've got it written, Tom, remember the judge? Tom?
Sure.
I won't say his, yeah. So it was his meeting. I think it was his meeting because I had his name on there. But the only way I could remember it, now I'm an abbreviation, type of person. So I just said HUPL in my mind, which is honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love. And my sister, she's just like, I'm like, yeah, we learned about this. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, it's HUPL. And I had to say, she's like, wait, what? So every once in a while, over the years, I brought that up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the HUPL thing, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." But the funny part is that I'm talking about these things, and she's like, so just a week ago, she's like, whatever it was, like I was mad or I was angry, and she's like, "You kind of seem like you're into this a little bit." I'm like, I didn't even know what my answer was, but if nothing else, it intrigued me. And the other thing that I think is important is, and I think the gentleman at Dr. Bob's house said it, is that a lot of times with the newer guys, and I remember us being told this, they're like, if all these 12 steps things and all these other things are too much, just focus on these. And I think that was a thing for a while in the way back, where they would just have guys, for the first however long, just focus on the absolutes. And really, if you think about it, and I don't mean you, but I mean if the folks listening, if you think about that from that standpoint, like Mike said, run everything through there, whatever you're going to do, and it doesn't matter, test it. And you could easily say, I mean, you may stop at honesty.
Right.
I can stop. Yeah, I could easily stop it on honesty and like, damn it, but is it unselfish? Now I'm doing it for my own purpose. And then, the other things in there, and if you can run it through there, and like the gentleman at Dr. Bob's house said, he's like, usually you can figure out if you're making a good decision or not.
Right.
So, and it's if all else fails, run it through there. And if you don't force it through, and if you're honest with yourself, you're probably going to be making at least a relatively good decision. if nothing else.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but well, yeah, and what's funny is that when and I don't think, did we ever talk about how we started doing pizza? I know we talked about the spite, but did we talk about the pizza and the other item that we decided we're going to keep us sober?
I don't know if we ever did.
Well, you know what? Why don't you explain that? Give you a chance to I yammer too much, so go ahead.
All right, then. Well, let's see. Well, the pizza thing on Friday night started when we were in C Dorm at the Ed Keating Center, the place where we got sober. When you move down into C Dorm, it's when you go 3/4 and you get a job. So we had a couple of bucks in our pocket. And at the end of the week, we celebrated our massive earnings by going and getting a $5 Little Caesars hot ready pizza. And and we started doing that, and we continued to do that. We moved to the 3/4 house, and we continued to get pizza after our meeting on Friday night. And we've separated and gone our ways in the world, but to this day, pretty much consistently, we have gotten a pizza at the end of our week. My schedule has certainly changed several times over the years, but at the end of my work week, I get a pizza every night. And I know you do too, Bill. So
yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, it's not that we're opposed to eating anything else on a Friday night, but given our choice, we're going to eat a pizza.
yeah, absolutely. Right. It keeps us sober. So the three factors, right? Spite being the second. How do you get a drunk to do something? Tell them you can't do it. So tell me I can't stay sober. Fuck you. I will stay sober. And the third factor is started again at the Keating Center, where all of our, I'm going to use air quotes here, good habits started, is making our bed every day. I do not leave the house without making the bed. When I was out on the road and sleeping in a truck 4 nights a week, that bunk in the back was made every day. Nobody ever saw it. It didn't matter to anyone, and it really didn't even matter that much to me, but I did it. That bunk was made every day because that was a habit that I got into, which is kind of what recovery is. It's getting in, changing our habits, getting good habits, replacing those old bad habits with good ones, and getting pizza and making our beds and being spiteful.
And yeah, that we used to tell people that all the time, and then 9 times out of 10 have to explain it like that. But yeah, it was those were the three things, and they happened at different times because and I think that the pizza thing, yeah, having a little bit of money in our pocket, but the other thing, when we went 3/4, we were still in the dorm area before we went into the 3/4 house. Basically, when like dinner happened around the Keating Center at probably 4:30 in the afternoon,
right?
Yeah, it was early, so
yeah.
we were all still at work, but what was supposed to happen is if there were 8 guys that were out working, there was a plate set aside for you, and you can go in the refrigerator when you got home and warm it up. And I do remember that the one time, there's probably a couple of times that we were forced to go get something, because you go in there and there's all these
nothing left.
These fucking animals ate our dinner.
An animal was the word that I was thinking of too.
Yeah. So we just decided, what, the hell with it. We're just going to plan on doing that. And yeah, we did it. In the 3/4 house when you and I moved in together. And then when I moved back to Madison, the place that first of all, when I stayed with my stepsister and her husband, there was a Little Caesars, because that's where we used to go, Little Caesars all the time. I think you said that. But so their Little Caesars was right around the corner from there. Madison, literally, it was on the street driving into the main subdivision area where I lived. And then when I lived in Jefferson, the same thing. It was less than 5 minutes away. But when I moved here, where I am now, the closest Little Caesars is 20 minutes away. So I'd go to a meeting on Friday night, literally drive 20 minutes up and then 20 minutes back. It was from the time I left the meeting, it was a good 40 minutes till I got home. And the only reason I stopped going to Little Caesars is because the one I went to, they just started making the pizzas just shitty. It was just so now the other one I go to, and I just order through their app, and I think you said you started going to Domino's also, and it just, it's the same thing. It's just cheap pizza, but I don't care.
Right. Right.
I love a good pizza, but I'm not going to spend $20 a week. I'm also cheap.
Right.
So if I'm going to spend $20, I'm going to go get like a steak or something like that, or a really good hamburger.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can get a good steak for $20. So let's go with the good hamburger instead.
Yeah, we'll go with that. The ground up steak.
Right. Yeah, it's still steak, just ground up. But because I just thought about that. I didn't think we ever talked about that. So that's cool. Now, everything else I still do. I still pray. I still have a higher power. I lean on the fellowship. I try to stay active as I can. And I have kept the structure part of it. We were just talking about that with the pizza stuff, And I know little things like that seem stupid, but it's just one of those. It's funny over the years, not even just family members, but I've had friends or people that I've hung out with, that have texted me on a Friday night and they're like, "Hey, I'm not interrupting your pizza, am I?"
Right. Yeah. People know what we're doing. They know. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point of the accountability. Right. I mean, this is great. That making the bed. I was out working. I was out in by Youngstown, and I'd gone into this warehouse. I've only actually been there once, and it was a live unload, which is when it doesn't happen often, but occasionally I have to sit there while they empty the trailer out. And the guy that came out with the paperwork was apparently a guy that was at the Keating Center. I didn't remember him, but he walked up to the truck and he looked at me and he said, "Is that bunk made back there?" So he remembered. Yeah. So I mean, out of the blue, people know what I do, to talk about walking the walk. I don't just talk the talk. These are the things that I do. I will tell you what I do. You can count on the fact that I've done those things. That's definitely something that was not true 12 and a half years ago.
Right. Yeah. And I just thought, and I remembered the do's and don'ts, but I didn't read it all. I remember seeing that note in there when I was going through the notes in my big book a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't read it. And when I was just reading it right now, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, well, gold star. Oh. And we were at the 3/4 house, and I remember standing in the hallway by the bathroom, and you were standing at the doorway of our bedroom, and it was the same thing. It was, all these people kept going back out. Every time somebody relapsed, I mean, seriously, just the same way you did, but I wasn't catching on. I'm like, okay, again, it was a Tuesday. The guy got a flat tire. He was by a liquor store. Don't do that. Or it was a Wednesday, and a family member just passed away, or his ex had, shit on him, or whatever the case is. So I'm looking for the why behind it. And I remember just being, and these two things happened at 9 months sober, and which was kind of weird, but they did. And I remember I was going out of my mind because I couldn't figure out, what the deal was. And I remember, again, standing by a bathroom, you're standing in the door to our bedroom. And I said, can it really be that simple? I said, we're told, obviously don't drink, but then pray, go to meetings, help another alcoholic. I'm like, could it be that simple? And I'm freaking out. And you just said,
yes.
And you walked away.
Yep.
and and I brought this up a couple of times in episodes. That's one of the things that Mike does. He'll give me 1 or 2 word answers like enjoy the freedom, and that sort of thing. But seriously, so this is, and I hope everyone understands how critical this is, because he and I joke about the 4 days here and there, but he and I we're at the same level, the same amount of sobriety, and the same point, living the same life, literally every single day up to that point. And he understood this and I didn't. But what it took is my friend Mike, again, just saying the word yes, and it clicked.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Be good this week, man. Don't pick up, man. If you do, you're just going to be hurting the people that you say you love. And one more thing, fuck off.
As always, it's a pleasure, Mike. I will obviously we'll talk again next week, and I love you, brother.
Love you too. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.